talking about the internet and where you feature into that, obviously it's just a small part of the future, and being a futurist, it's only just an aspect of it. It's changed the way everything moves, but it certainly with regards to music.
It's the biggest part. It's our Earth.
Well,
like, you remember, like, you see future movies and everything was in the sky? Like, it moved to the sky?
That's where it is?
That's the internet.
Right.
That's what it is. That's our sky.
Yeah.
That's our future sky. We kind of thought we knew what it was, and it's flying cars. We didn't get flying cars, but we can send movies like in 2 seconds. You know,
that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So you talk about it being in its early stages and it being really not even yet at a point where it's developed its true potential. I mean, what are the key things that you've learned in your journey? Because I'm fascinated to go down this road for a minute if you want. We could talk about this record. I'd love to. But while we're here...
This record is just the codes of that. Go listen to all my music. It's the codes of self-esteem. It's the codes of who you are. If you're a Kanye West fan, you're not a fan of me, you're a fan of yourself. You will believe in yourself. I'm just the espresso. I'm just a shot in the morning to get you going, to make you believe that you can overcome that situation that you're dealing with all the time.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about that aspect of your personality, because you said that you're not here to, be, it's all about you. You're here to help. And I believe you when you say that, man. You know, I think, you've given us great records. You like to think about the way things are going to appear in the future. You keep your eye on things. You want to make, like you said, you want to make basketball tops for your old high school. You want to do things right. Yeah. Do you allow yourself the time to be good to yourself? Do you allow yourself any time for yourself at all? Do you know what I mean? I know you've got a good self-esteem and who you are, but you seem to be doing a lot for the bigger picture, for everything that's moving around you.
Yeah.
Do you give yourself time?
Yeah, it's like family time.
Yeah.
It's what Kim gave me.
Yeah.
She gave me everything. She gave me a family. She gave me a support system. She was in a powerful enough situation where she could love me without asking me for money. Which is really hard for me to find.
Yeah. What are some of the other things, that you've learned about yourself since you became a family man?
I can't pinpoint that. I don't have the answer right on me. I got to think about it a little bit and give you a really good answer.
Okay, cool.
I've got like a lock and loaded amount of information that I'd like to express on a very wide scale that I'll give you. But if you ask me a question like that, I'll go back and think of it, and maybe I'll have the answer for you in a couple of days.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. When you get other outlets, you can relax and give other outlets more breathing room. Meaning like, okay, when I did the Coachella performance, I had 30 dancers on stage, modern performance artists. And I had this lift, and I had the Roman wall, and I had like the Celine shirt and blah, blah, all this type of stuff. So when Jay told me he did Watch the Throne, he said, I don't want to use dancers, of course. And I said, that's fine, because I was doing a fashion show in Paris. So I still had 30 girls on the stage, but so I still had these elements of the emotion. You must
recognize that wasn't the throne thing either. I mean, that wasn't necessarily what Throne was about, that type of performance necessarily.
What I'm saying is, it's about whatever I want to make it about. This is my world.
But you're with Jay on this, though. It is a collaborative project. It's not just your vision on Throne.
Yeah. So then I would have to separate my world, but still get some of my world out through the fact that I had a fashion show. You see what I'm saying? So it's like right now, people could say, oh, he's frustrated. He's that. No. All I need is the breakthrough, the joint venture for my clothing. Same as Stella McCartney has, same as I can name so many people that have joint ventures, a backing to be able to express themselves that way. Okay, bam, I need that outlet. And then you'll get things closer to Watch the Throne. You'll get things closer to Bound. Because obviously more people are apt to like Blood on the Leaves and Bound and Watch the Throne. It's just more of an overall like happier vibe, right? But Jay is more realized than me. Meaning more of his dreams and hopes and aspirations, blah, 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 has come true. And hopefully, God willing, by the time I'm his age, that thing will happen for me also. And I'll be in that place of a more zenned out place. Even it's like I couldn't have done this album without Rick Rubin. I had to have a Zen master come in and say, okay, this is just what we're going to do. You don't realize I am so frustrated. Like, I am so frustrated. Like, I've got so much I want to give. I've got ideas on color palettes. I've got ideas on silhouettes. And I've got a million people telling me why I can't do it. that I'm not a real designer. I'm not this. I'm not a real rapper either. I'm not a real musician either. Like, I don't know how to play the piano. Like, I'm an artist. I went to art college. And was looked at like I'm soft because I like wore like Italian clothes. You know what I'm saying? When I'm rapping in front of camera and my pants is tight, trying to spit a verse for Cam. So that's the same when I'm sitting there, like sitting there at a fashion show. Like, I'm there because I appreciate Phoebe Philo. I appreciate Raf Simons. I appreciate Ricardo Tisci, and I look at them as my peers, as creative people who dedicate their entire life to making something better for the world. Let me explain what anybody that knows an artist, and you know someone that's giving that, if you know an artist, there's only one thing you can say, give, or ask them when you see them. There are 2 words. Thank you. There's no, why didn't you do this? Yo, I want that. What's up? No, we dedicate our entire life to making our current time and civilization better, to adding something to the culture. And there is only 2 words that you can say. Thank you.
Give us an insight into the fashion world, though, and what you've been going through there with that whole experience. The biggest challenge you've ever had, clearly, to get your vision across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be helping me.
Is that partly, and please don't, take this the wrong way, I just mean this in the for the process of conversation, is that partly, do you think, because some of the people who are making fashion look at you and they go, well, you said it yourself, they dedicate their whole lives to one thing. You are exceptionally successful and gifted in this area. To move into their area, it's understandable. There's a human aspect of suspicion involved there because they're like, well, hang on a minute, this is our life. So what is it you're trying to achieve here? Do you think there's a part of that that's going on, do you think?
I've dedicated the past 10 years of my life to this. I've spent 80% of my time working on this and 20% of my time working on music. Why do you think the song Niggas in Paris is called Niggas in Paris? Because niggas was in Paris. Because I had an office in a small courtyard across the street from Colette where I couldn't even find a good pattern cutter. That's why we were in Paris. I put in the 10,000 hours. I've got a very particular, specific take on men's footwear. No one can say I cannot design or understand how to design a guy's sneaker. When I was in 4th grade, I was drawing Jordans. When my mama couldn't afford them, I was drawing those Jordans. Getting kicked out of class for drawing them. And when I got that opportunity to work with Nike, I went into that emotional space and place of my life and said, what was it about that? What were the cues that I can add when I make the Yeezys? I don't ever do interviews. And I wasn't the one rapper that had the opportunity to do a shoe with Nike for no reason. It means it has to be another step. It means it has to keep going. People didn't love the Yeezys the way they did for no reason. Picture this. For me to do the Yeezys and not have a joint venture backing deal with Nike the next day would have been like if I made Jesus Walks and was never allowed to make an album. If Drake made his first mixtape and was never allowed to be signed. If 2 Chainz only had 116. And then people say, why are you mad? Do you know how many 16s 2 Chainz had in him? He did 100 features in 1 year. 100.
Yeah.
100
okay, so
features.
Let's get to the solution then, Kanye. Let's work out how are you going to kick that door in as well? How are you going to get into that world your way, on your terms?
I'm not trying to get into that world. I'm trying to make a higher level of product for the real world. Because people say life isn't fair. And unless you Kanye West or you this pretty girl that dates the soccer player or your parents had money, you don't get to wear Versace all the time. And you hear it. We love Versace. Versace, 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 Versace. We love Versace. Versace is the greatest designer of all time. We love Versace. But unless you was to the point where you rap so good and knock down so many doors and produce so much shit that you was able to actually get Dame Dash to give you a record deal because you was a producer, not because he liked your raps, but because you was a producer, just because Dame knew what was up and he was downtown with the models and the artists and all that shit. Yo, look at this kid got some talent. You not affording Versace. The creators, they want to connect with people. These artists, the clothing designers, they want to connect with people the same way that music gets to connect with people. But the cost of silk is too expensive and they won't lower their quality level. So I can spend $2 million on a record and give it out in a democratic way. They could spend all their time making the greatest dress in the world, and it's just impossible to hand make that many. Let me explain to you what a fashion office is like, right? Sometimes if you're working on an album, once it gets down to the last moments, there's 2 or 3 people in the studio, an engineer, a manager, the artist, a label guy, saying the masters are due tomorrow. Okay, they're due a day after tomorrow, but let's get them in. It narrows down to that. At a fashion office, you've had people who have dedicated their entire life to this, that are working, 12 people, 15, 20 people, interns coming in, working to 4 a.m. that night, slaving to be able to put that thing on the runway, pinning things right before they go out. All 20 collections every day for Fashion Month. That is the level of dedication, heart, and soul that goes into that. But what happens is, for real people, the democratic public, the people who have a normal amount of money that work every day, that like nice things, we'll just make these same cuts, blah, 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 and provide this at a democratic cost. The only thing about it that's different than Nike and Apple is there's never a time when someone can walk in with some non-Nikes and you feel less in yourself.
Right.
You still feel like the greatest version of you when you have those Nikes on, right? But you can have on a Zara pant, right? And a girl walks in with the Celine version and you feel like shit. Right. That is the problem. That is the problem.
I mean, obviously not my problem because I look like I dress the same way I did when I was like 12.
But I'm talking about us, the new slaves, the people who love fashion. I'm talking about us, you know, because I'm a slave to it. I love it.
Dude, I can tell. Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it since age 5. My mama brought me to a discount first spot, and when she asked me what I like, everything I like was too expensive for us. That's 5 years old. I went to my grandfather's funeral like 3 weeks back, and my cousin that works for me stood up. And he told this story about, you know, how his mother was a tailor. So he won best dress. I won best dress in high school too. A bunch of people in the lineage of my family won best dress. But his mother was a tailor, right? His mother was a tailor, an African-American tailor. My grandfather was a hustler. He used to take old vintage furniture and reupholster it. Then he had a store, and he sold all of these different items that he thought would be good for people. Do you know how many times I sat with people and said, hey, I want to make a store? And they said, how could you make a store? Blah, blah, blah. It's in my code. It's in my code. Have y'all ever seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
You remember how that girl in there, the people that was racing, she was the glitch.
Yeah.
You telling me they don't look at me like the motherfucking glitch? You telling me people don't look at Kanye West like the glitch right now? And she was on the side of the video game the whole time. It's in my code. It's in my code.